Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. And there's a reason why I'm on Firth, where we first had our colleagues, Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa. Thank you for your presentations, and actually guest travel to Mozambique after that. The predominant travel to Mozambique is extensions on safari, and by sort of combining best of both worlds, the safari is better in their countries, and clearly we have a better ocean and a warmer climate. Yeah, rain season, we do have a rain season as well, and but we normally don't talk about the rain season because going on a beach holiday, it's not the greatest part, but I'll come to that later. But yeah, so Mozambique is situated on the eastern part of Southern Africa, facing Madagascar. My name is Martijn, by the way. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I represent Sense of Oceans, a part of 2FS Destination Management, and I, since '98, specialize in trips to and in Mozambique. Quick facts about Mozambique: 2,750-kilometer unspoiled coastline. Unbelievable. I said that in 1998 when I started selling this destination. We are now 25 years later, and it's still unspoiled and it's still reasonably untouched. Touching in Tanzania in the north, and South Africa in the south, very vast. There's actually only one main road, the EN1, from Maputo all the way along, about 20 or 30 km inland, all the way up to the north and connecting into Tanzania. Capital right in the south, Maputo. Population of 32 million. Portuguese is the main spoken language, although definitely in the southern part of Mozambique, you can get around with English. On the hotels, everywhere you can go around with English. In the northern part of which you travel inland, it's a bit more difficult. You would need to be able to speak a bit of Portuguese. Christianity and Muslim, the Muslim communities predominantly live in the northern part of the country, where Christianity, brought in, of course, by the Portuguese, are more prominent in the southern part of Mozambique. Quick facts on arrival. So everyone needs a visa nowadays, and we're very delighted. Since the 6th of December last year, we have an e-visa system. So you can advise your clients to go on an e-visa. If you need the link, please ask me for later. I will put it in the chat box. Very easy. One comment on that e-visa. Please make sure that you don't try to do a multi-person application, because the system battles a bit with that. It still probably has the teething problems. So rather do it one by one and make sure that every single document. So we had guests now trying, a couple, they tried to get it. So they use the document of an e-ticket, which has both names on it, but the system doesn't recognize that. So do the applications. I'm sure they will sort this out in the coming weeks, but for the time being, yes, do a single application works the best. Why Mozambique? What are our USPs? An unspoiled coastline, absolutely fascinating honeymoon destination. It's we don't have big hotels. I think the biggest hotel on the ocean is 45 rooms. We have a few bigger city hotels, which are predominantly busy. Otherwise, it's a little bit like Botswana, the same style of travel, or Namibia, where you would travel in small size game lodges, and the hotels and lodges on the coastline are actually of the same size. So you in the same type of accommodation. More and more we are protecting. We have, of course, two different parks. We have national parks on land, which are busily populated. We are not the best into safari, so would definitely not book a first comer to a safari in Mozambique, rather the surrounding countries. But we have a fantastic marine life. So do your safari on land in Southern Africa, and come for your submarine wildlife, which is absolutely fascinating. We have very little industry, meaning that the waters are clean. We never had any dynamite fishing or overfishing. The waters are well protected. The islands are now protected by African parks. So yeah, we're getting more and more sanctuaries in the ocean, and allowing the dugong. I'll show you a bit later in the Vilanculos archipelago that actually the dugong population has been bigger than ever in the last 25 years. So yeah, the parks and protecting the ocean does work. There says at the bottom, you see no yellow fever certificate when you're traveling from Europe. If you travel from from East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, please make sure that you are required to produce a yellow certificate. That's all. The whole of Mozambique is considered malaria, and it's considered malaria. So yeah, please take your precautions when traveling to our coastlines. Next, yeah, what type of travel? I think it's a bit of all. It's a beach holiday predominantly. So it attracts honeymooners on the more, perhaps say, pricey private lodges on the islands, but has a lot to do for children as well. There's a cycling. There's a lot of family travel. Family travel is where they spot the animals on land and carries on by snorkeling, diving, or perhaps clients want to do a dive course. If you book between 5 to 7 days is enough to do your full open scuba water dive license in Mozambique, and then straight away dive on the renowned reefs. And next to that, what is becoming more and more popular is actually a self-drive where we combine South Africa and combine predominantly South Africa, where the trip starts in Johannesburg, go to Kruger National Park, do the safari in Kruger and Park and adjacent private game lodges, and then cross the Jiri on the border in Kruger straight into Mozambique and connect to the coastline and sort a bit of it, make your way down, and then cross back into South Africa. We do organize the cars for that. We do the bourbons. So yeah, it's a popular way, especially avoiding when clients want to avoid the quite pricey domestic flights. It is an option to definitely visit all the spots on there. The next slide. Thank you, Sammy. Accessibility. These are on airlines, so we're actually well connected to the world. Yeah, there's also options for open tickets. So you fly in on Ethiopian or Qatar into Johannesburg or TAP and then out again of Maputo. So it's actually easy to combine. You don't need to always have to travel back to Johannesburg. Just as a logistic point of view, it makes it very easy to combine flights. You see one is missing is Air France. Air France had announced their initiative during COVID and actually a bit past COVID to that, but so far they have not started yet. So we removed their slide until they land in our beautiful destination. Cross fingers. And yeah, next. Thank you, Timmy. Yeah, when going to Mozambique, I would tell you all year round. We are tropical climate, so it's actually always warm. It's really cold. If you are cold, it is probably after a rain in the southern part. The northern part is even closer to the equator, and being such a vast country of almost 3,000 kilometers, you can understand we have two rain seasons. We have a more East Africa rain season in the north, and we have a Southern Africa rain season in the south. So, but predominantly April to September is dry, October to March is a green season, and the north is then probably more February, March, and April, which can be met. Which brings us to the cyclone season, and we would, yes, unfortunately, we are in the same bracket as Madagascar, Mauritius, and that, so we get our cyclones are predominantly in February, March. This year, we've been protected. Unfortunately, Madagascar had a few, but often they come around Madagascar and hit Mozambique as well. And yeah, cross fingers, this year we have been saved so far, but we only halfway Feb. So keep that. And but the water temperature, I think the water temperature varies between around, I would say 22, 23 at its coldest, right up to 30 in summer. January, February can be very hot. So elderly people traveling, I would perhaps want to avoid December, January, because in North Mozambique, you easily hit 35 to 40. So that might be a bit too much of sunshine. And at the bottom where you see wildlife viewing, we have 3 parks. The Nyasa Reserve in the north is closed. Gorongosa is open, but normally only for self-drive, and we have a Chitango rest camp, although Cross Fingers and Beyond are developing a camp or have shown the initiative of developing a camp in Gorongosa. So watch this space. Hopefully we'll go to AFMAR. And then we have the Limpopo Transfrontier National Park in the south, which is adjacent to Kruger National Park, and where they have dropped fences. Animals have crossed into the Mozambique territory, and tourists can take their self-drive cars and go across. Where to go in Mozambique? As I've said, it's a vast area. I always break it up in 5 different regions. Being the south would be Maputo and its surroundings, Inhambane, Tofu at 500 kilometers north of Maputo. The best easy accessible beach destination would be the Bazaruto archipelago and Ilha de Mozambique and surroundings in the north. Unfortunately, Carima's archipelago, due to the political unrest, although it's gone very calm at the moment, there's still a negative travel advice on that area, so we don't touch on, we don't travel to the Carimas currently. Pemba is accessible, but we don't really go there. Quickly highlighting the difference between the one back quickly, hear me, that I highlight what are the 4 differences. Maputo, easy accessible from Nelspruit and Kruger by road or by plane, and then access to Ponta Douro. Inhambane is accessible via Maputo or via Vilanculos, and people in Inhambane, the travelers for Inhambane and Tofa would predominantly divers, because there it's what you see are the whale sharks and the manta rays. Bazaruto archipelago is the easiest extension on a safari. Daily flights from Johannesburg, 4 times a week from Kruger International Airport in Nelspruit. So it's a very easy add-on on a safari in South Africa and or Namibia or Botswana. And then the last but not least, Ilha de Mozambique. Ilha de Mozambique is a tiny little Zanzibar with absolute barely any tourists, but an enormous amount of history, a lot of culture, and for the traveler who's really interested in the source of Mozambique, that's where the name actually came from. It was the previous capital. It's worthwhile. You have 2 beautiful hotels in that area, which are called Noiro Lodge and Corbel Lodge. And yeah, please reach out to us. We gladly put you some, not a bit off, definitely off the beaten track, but also off the beach and more orientated on culture and nature. CFM, Camino de Ferro de Mozambique. So those who are interested in architecture, that roof has been designed by Gustav Eiffel. This is our railway station. And if you take the letter CFM off and you put there a sign hotel, which they did in Blood Diamond, then suddenly this building became the hotel, and there was the meeting. So yeah, you can see how Hollywood cheats us around. But yeah, Maputo has been often, because of its architecture, used in certain movies. Ali, the movie of Ali, is actually fully filmed in Maputo as well. Then the coastline, this is just a gap. This is, if you look clearly in the dunes, is Mashangulu Beach Lodge. Mozambique, like I said earlier, is some parts are very protected, or sometimes not even. It's just animals roam wild, where we try to, of course, create sanctuaries. Sanctuaries are predominantly to take international fishing vessels off. There's been a lot of netting. The local people are always allowed to fish in traditional ways. They prohibit nets, and nowadays they have, in the breeding season of lobsters and crabs, they have actually stopped also the local people, which they have realized that after 2-3 years now, it actually gives much better. If you leave the ocean a bit alone, it's recuperates itself very quickly, and the numbers increase. So yeah, we're very happy to see that there is a lot of fish around. So for diving and snorkeling, it is very good. Just as a hint, if you have a typical snorkeler, reach out to us to find which hotels can actually snorkel from the shorelines, because not all the hotels have that. You would have then to take a boat and to go to the snorkel reefs. So yeah, if you have kids who want to be in the water 24/7 like mine, please let me know. We'll gladly put itineraries together so they'll have their aquarium at their site. And then quickly touching back on the self-drive. The self-drive tours are becoming, especially after COVID, very popular because it allows you to be very remote. It allows you to be independent from airlines, A, from cost, but B, from itineraries. The road system in Mozambique is very reliable. There is petrol everywhere. There is cell phone everywhere. It is a old Mozambican, Portuguese colony, so you can always buy a bit of food. There's always a good coffee on each corner of the street. So consider that option if you have the more adventurous travel in your portfolio. Well, the self-drive trips are there. And I mentioned it earlier, mass tourism. No, we don't know about this. This is the Bazaruta archipelago, which is the most known area, but at the end of the day, there's only 4 hotels on the islands, which have a maximum of not even 200 rooms, and then we have a few more hotels on the shore, on the shores of Vilanculos, but it's untouched. And this picture is Ilha de Mozambique, where already said this is one of the oldest churches of Mozambique on the islands. A lot of history, not per definition a beach destination, more a cultural and historical experience on the ocean. So if you want to have more, reach out to us, senseofoceans.com. We are there. All our consultants have been traveling themselves to Mozambique. We tend to know, we know the destination very well, and we gladly answer all your questions. Thank you, and thank you for combining safari with Mozambique.